recall. This time, then, the issues coming through from Ford. Dumisang, what's going on? I mean, another day, another recall. The safety of these vehicles being ultimately the reason why we have to worry on a daily basis then.
Absolutely worrying, Arabile, and a good afternoon to our viewers at home on the business desk at this hour. Concern is mounting as yet another car manufacturer has issued a recall, with Ford saying and flagging safety issues in its 2024 Ranger Light commercial vehicles. The National Consumer Commission says the recall is due to a defect in the front lower control arm, which may have been installed on the wrong side. The regulatory body says this could cause the joint to separate, leading to a loss of control of the affected wheel and significantly increase the risk of a crash or injury. This comes a week after the National Consumer Commission announced the recall of several models, including premium brands such as Volvo, Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen, Jeep, Chrysler and Citroën. NCC Complaints and Investigations Head Prudence Moilwa speaks to us about the latest developments, being the Ford recall. Thank you so much for your time. How was the incorrect front lower control arm issue discovered?
Yeah, from the information that we currently have, Ford informed us that it was like the routine testing of their models. So they were able to pick up that at least about 25 vehicles are affected by this. So it's still obviously early days. We will be meeting with them in the coming week to get more information around how this has happened. But from the information that we got, so the lower control arm apparently is very identical to the one that is fitted on the left side. So it could be that, that kind of mistake was prone to happen because of the identical. But also it also brings into question, their processing of this type of vehicles when they do the fitting. So we would like to engage them more before we can say, it's a problem in terms of negligence and stuff like that. But so far, they've confirmed that it affected about 25 vehicles and 11 of them have already been repaired.
It's highly worrying, Prudence. 25 units does not sound like a huge number, but the issue that's being described, especially as you allude to the possibility of negligence, is quite concerning in that this control arm matter means that one could simply be driving and the wheels come off literally. How much of that engagement is going to be quite direct when you do meet with the company itself?
Yeah, obviously, as you know, we have a history with Ford. So the expectation is that obviously the engagement will be to get to the bottom of this, to make sure that this doesn't happen again. We would also like to give them the benefit of a doubt because obviously the reporting of the recall was done in terms of our legislation wherein suppliers have an obligation to inform the National Consumer Commission and the affected consumers about any product failure. And in this regard, we take it as such. However, like you already indicated, from our side, we are worried about, this type of safety concerns. Even if we are informed, we need to dig deeper to see what causes this product failures, especially in the motor industry.
What's to be said then about the timing of the discovery as well as the reporting? Because one could argue that we are talking about 2024 models and we are sitting in almost the middle of 2025. So what could have taken so long?
Yes, I think together with the other OEMs, the Commission actually wants to engage directly around how it was discovered and what measures have been put in place for this not to happen again. And as you know, even with the investigations that have happened before, arising out of product recalls, it's when after engagements or during engagements, we pick up, number one, whether we pick up information around whether we were told timelessly, number one. Number two, as to whether it is truthful in terms of what they have also alluded to in terms of the defect and also what is being affected. So we plead with OEMs to be very open with us, especially with regard to the extent of the issues, because this concerns consumer safety, and as the Commission, we have a responsibility to ensure that consumers are safe.
Overall, how alarmed is the National Consumer Commission? Just last week, you were speaking to my colleague, Michelle Craig, right here on Newzroom Afrika, about several premium brands that have also found themselves in a similar position. Yes, the challenges are different and the defects are quite different too, but literally a week ago, Prudence, a similar discussion was being had.
Yes. Obviously, as the Commission, we are very worried, with regard to the quality of motor vehicles that are sold in South Africa. And also, not only that, but also, we would like to get to the bottom of it. As I've said, we've set up meetings with all of them. I think the first one being on Tuesday next week, to literally interrogate the information that has been submitted to us, as well as to ensure that when we go back to South Africans and we discuss the risks that are associated, to properly, as a Commission, review the matters to make sure that information that we've received is actually can be relied upon. So, and as you correctly state, we've communicated about 7 in the last week. Obviously, there's more because over a number of days, on an ongoing basis, the Commission does receive notifications about product failures, as we should, because legislation directs suppliers to do so. However, I think we would like to be able to come back to South Africans to say we've engaged and how worried we are after the engagements. But I think we are also encouraged by the fact that half of the vehicles have been fixed. Obviously, one vehicle that is unsafe on the road is one vehicle too many. Because if there is a case of an accident, it doesn't just concern that one vehicle on the road. So we would like for suppliers to move as quickly as possible. We've been told that letters have been sent out to all consumers that are affected. However, we also do understand that vehicles do exchange hands, and sometimes consumers do not get to those communications, as we would like them to. Hence, we are communicating now.
Lastly, what recourse do consumers have, especially those who are affected not only by the Ford recall, but the other vehicles that were mentioned just last week?
Yes. So a product recall does not necessarily take away consumers' rights in terms of the 3 R's, the repairs, replacement, and a refund. So the reason why we encourage suppliers to do the product recalls, we don't want it to get to a point where a consumer comes to us and, there's been a loss of life or limb, number one. So consumers still do have a right to lodge complaints to get the recalls. However, we also want to report to South Africans that product recalls are done all over the world. And in terms of the Consumer Protection Act, there is that responsibility to recall vehicles in order to give consumers the redress in terms of repairs of the vehicles to ensure safety.
Thank you so much for your time. That is Prudence Moilwa of the National Consumer Commission talking to us about yet another case of vehicle recall, this time around by Ford.